Hello and welcome to a brand new program all about our favourite plastic bricks. And in today's program I'm going to demonstrate how I turned this standard camping van into this classic 1960s VW. But first of all we'll put the VW safely back on the high street there, and I'll give you a quick whistle-stop tour of my Lego city. The city is called Brickstead, and it's basically a homage to the 1960s kind of retro years when we had some very interesting vehicles, and buildings were still kind of fairly traditional at that stage, which is the type of Lego building that I enjoy making. So let's first of all start off with this beautiful double-decker bus. This is a standard Lego kit, but interestingly this isn't actually Lego. It's a kit called Lepin, which I bought from a Chinese website. It's basically a similar copy to Lego. It's a copy of the Lego double-decker bus. Now, moving the bus aside for a moment, you can see a glimpse of my Lego police station, which is part of what I call the emergency services block, because right next to it there's also the Lego fire station with some very charming old-fashioned 1960s fire engines in there, which we'll look at in detail possibly in a later programme. On the roof of the fire station there's an emergency helicopter with some personnel who are about to fly off to maybe rescue someone from a burning building. On top of the police building, as you can see, there's an emergency helicopter there, again with some personnel waiting to get on board. And then finally we've got this very charming 1960s NHS hospital, which has got some very nice classical window furniture there, as you can see. And again there's an emergency helicopter on the top, with somebody about to do some maintenance on that. We've got some figures doing a pavement repair outside, so there's some workmen there with a little mechanical digger, and you can just see a glimpse of the 1960s retro ambulances in there, and there's also a sort of patients minibus waiting to take some patients back home. So, coming back to that camping van, it's from Lego set 31079. It was originally an 8-stud model. I wanted it to be a 6-stud wide model because I find that tends to be the best sort of scale for minifigs when you're making a Lego city. So what I did was, first of all, shortened it to 6 studs by changing the width, and originally the roof had this rather chunky white slopes on the top, so I changed that and put some curved slopes and also a standard sort of vehicle roof on the top there. If you notice, the windows have also been changed. Originally they were just plain glass windows. I've put the white framed windows there to give it a bit more definition. And finally, the crucial change that we made was at the front, which we changed the standard configuration there in the original Lego model by putting these triangular plates and then a round tile on the front with a homemade VW sticker, just to give it that nice VW effect. And then we've put some large headlights on there, again to mimic the classic VW sort of configuration at the front. So all in all, that's become a really super 1960s style retro model. Next, if we look at the main street, we can see some very charming retro type vehicles. There's the old 1960s Mini Clubman there. There's the famous French 2CV car at the front. There's a Fiat car there, and then there's some larger vehicles towards the back. And if we just walk round the back of Main Street, we can see there's a very nice post office building, which is a mock, basically, my own creation. And we can see a young man posting a letter there. And also there's the post van there with the postman loading some letters and parcels into the back of the van. If we have a look at this side of the main street, we can see some very nice kind of Hanseatic Baroque buildings, most of which I've copied from people on YouTube and on the internet, of which more later. And finally we've got the other side of the Main Street block with some very nice buildings there, and you can see there's a kind of royal motorcade going on the roadway down there with some nice motorcycles. There's a nice sort of limousine mock vehicle there, and behind that we've got the secret agent James Bond following on in his special DB5 Aston Martin, just to make sure no mischief comes to the royal party. Behind the procession though we can see Catwoman, who's being pursued by Captain America. Catwoman's obviously trying to cause some mischief to the royal procession, but we'll come back to that later. And then we've got this fire engine trying to rescue a little kitten that's got stuck up the tree. And finally we've got the fun fair going on the edge of the city, including this very nice mixer ride, which is a bit like a cyclone, and some little stalls there. And just round the other side, because it's on the edge of some farmland, there's actually some animals there. We've got some sheep and cows and some a pig there, and a little farmer, of course. If we zoom in on the gentleman's clothing shop, you'll notice there are one or two bits missing from the top because it's not quite finished yet. It's virtually finished. On top of that, Batman is fighting off a couple of strange monsters. These are called Mixols, these strange looking people on the top. On top of the townhouse building I've put a shark sort of falling into the ceiling. That's based on an artistic installation in Oxfordshire. Now, when I was growing up in the 1960s, we had this lovely set of books called the Ladybird series, and a lot of the vehicle models in this Lego city are actually based on pictures in the Lego books. In the next programme we'll have a look in detail at some of the lovely retro models that I've made and how they relate to real life vehicles from the 50s and 60s. But I think that's all we've got time for in this programme. Doctor Who is on in a couple of minutes, so I'll let you guys go and get your tea, and then we'll hopefully see you again soon. Could you please hit the like and the subscribe button, which will help me a lot, and meanwhile, live long and prosper, and see you next time.